I'm sick. No, really, I am sick. I got tested this weekend and it came back negative, which is great, but I do want to do a second test soon just to make sure. But I decided, you know what, I need to do something productive or creative to get myself out of the funk that I've been in for the past couple of days. And with this video, it's either I do it now or never, right? This is the media book freakout tag. It's supposed to be done at the middle of the year. Most of y'all do it. Most of y'all do it like 3 weeks early. But I'm here to give it to you a week late, okay? I'll be doing a combination of actually the media book freakout tag and the media check-in tag. I will leave the creators to all of these tags down below. I've selected and unselected questions as I see fit from both tags, so I'll let you know on the screen which tag each of the questions that I'm answering comes from, or if they overlap. You'll get it as I get into it. I read about 20 books so far for the year, which is, you know, fine. My Goodreads goal right now is 35 because 35 is the most amount of books that I've ever done in a year. So I mean, if I keep reading at this pace and I try to up it just a little bit, then I could end up, this could end up being my best reading year, for all I know. The genre that I've been reading the most this year is literary fiction, adult literary fiction, adult general fiction, adult fiction that is not commercial or genre, essentially. And yeah, that's kind of been my mainstay for a while. YA contemporary used to be my mainstay, but I've been kind of weaning off that for some time now. I only read 2 YA books this year, so I don't want to go too much into my reasons why I'm making that shift, because I do plan on doing a video on that soon. I just finished filming this entire video and my camera cut off on me, so I have to start over from like the 3rd question. Let's do this fast. I don't want to spend much time. Favorite book of the year. Best book that I've read, hands down, for the year would have to be Mornings in Janine by Susan Abu-Hawat. It's an amalgamation of all of my favorite things. It's a story about time, it's a story about people, it's a story that is multi-generational. I love multi-generational stories, so I knew from the get-go that I was going to fall in love with this book, and I did. What I didn't realize is how much I would fall in love with it. Not only was the story amazing, and not only was it a great way to learn about the history of Palestine, it was so beautifully written. Susan Abu-Hawat is a poet as well. It is stunning. Some of the best writing that I've read in a really long time. One of the best books that I've read in a really long time, and one that will stay with me forever. If you want to know more of my thoughts, I did do a full review for this on my Bookstagram, which is at musaho_books. Follow me. I've been really trying to like revamp my Bookstagram as of late, so please follow me and check out my content. I've been posting lots of cool stuff lately. So when it comes to the most surprising book that I read for the year, right, I will definitely have to say it's Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. So this is a book that had been getting a lot of hype on Bookstagram as of late, and I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to read it. But then Paige and Linnell, who I host Bashment Book Club with, it's a Caribbean book club, they were like, let's read Black Cake. It's like a Jamaican story. It's following this mother who dies, and she leaves like this recording for her 2 children who end up learning all of the family secrets. And oh my god, it was so good. It was so compelling and so enthralling. I was in it from the beginning. It's not the best story ever. It definitely has like some aspects to it that could have been done better. It's a little bit on the nose and kind of predictable. I wouldn't say it's, you know, masterclass literature, but it was still a story that I didn't expect to love as much as I did, and I highly recommend that you give it a try. The worst book that I read for the year so far would definitely have to be Miguel Street by V.S. Naipaul, which is a classic that takes place right here in Trinidad. I've had to read this book at least 4 or 5 times in my academic career, and I just refused to finish it. And this year, for some reason, was the first time I was like, you know what? You're gonna have to say you read Miguel Street at some point in your life. The first time I was supposed to read this was in high school, and then I was supposed to read it again in university for a course that I was taking, and then I was supposed to read it again for the same course that I ended up tutoring as a postgrad student. Then I was probably supposed to read it again the next year or something when I tutored the same course, and it wasn't until the 3rd time I was tutoring the course that I decided, you know what, I'm the teacher, I should probably set a good example. And I read the entire thing. And I don't intend to read it again. I do want to read more books by Naipaul. I know he has other books that I probably will really like, but Miguel Street was just not the one for me. The most disappointing book that I read for the year, though, would probably have to be Bianca Del Rio's book called Blame It on Bianca Del Rio. I love Bianca. I find her hilarious, and even though she's very politically incorrect, I could enjoy that type of humor in small doses, so long as it's not overkill and so long as the comedian doesn't overly rely on it. Bianca overly relies on it in this book. And it's not really so much the humor and just the overkill of the political incorrectness that I didn't really enjoy. It was the fact that this book was very repetitive, right? So it's just a bunch of fan mail that she's gotten from people asking her for advice. And of course, she's an insult comic. She's not going to give them genuine advice. So it just ended up being just raunchy, controversial things that, you know, she was saying throughout the book in the name of comedy. And after a while, it was overkill for me. And I didn't love it. I didn't hate it either. And again, I do enjoy Bianca, and I did laugh at some things here and there. But I just expected a little bit more from her. I wanted to laugh my ass off, and I only laughed like maybe 2 or 3 strands of hair that grows off of my ass. I have a really hairy ass. You didn't need to know that, but now you know. The best sequel that I read for the year so far would definitely have to be Truth of the Divine by Lindsay Ellis. So this is the sequel to Axiom's End, which I loved. I read that this year as well. And this is such a huge improvement on the first book. It's like this first contact alien sci-fi situation. This book delves so much more into the scientific lore and like information about the alien civilizations. It was so cool and interesting. We introduced a new main character who I absolutely adored. But most of all, what I really appreciated about this book is that it delved into mental illness and the main character's experience with PTSD and anxiety, which I really appreciated because the book goes into immense detail with that and really explores it with a sense of care and nuance and complexity, and it was just so good. Like, if you want to read an SFF book that really delves into the mental health of the main character as a result of the SFF realities going on around them, I mean, you have to read Axiom's End first, but I definitely think you'll get what you want out of Truth of the Divine. Otherwise, it's just a brilliant book. Fantastic improvement on the first one, which I still really enjoyed. So, a new author that I discovered this year who I only read 1 book from her. I haven't read multiple books from her, but I do want to read all of her books because of the fact that I understand that they all take place in the same universe or reality. It's Emily St. John Mandel, most known for Station 11. I ended up picking up a copy of her most recent book, Sea of Tranquility, which I absolutely loved. Now, the thing you have to know about me is that I'm not the kind of person to buy a book in the bookstore, immediately start reading it in the bookstore, like in the line to cash out, right? And then finishing it within a day. I don't usually do that. I buy my books, put them down for weeks, months, perhaps even years before I get around to them. But this book, something about the premise intrigued me, and the minute that I picked it up, the minute that I started reading it, I was enthralled from the very beginning to the very end. It's literary sci-fi that uses time travel to explore pandemics and diseases and humans and what it means to be a human. It's so good. Such a really vast and interesting and well written and well told story. These dogs are really like trying to outcompete me at this point. Also, another shameless Instagram plug, I have another review for this book on my Bookstagram as well, so definitely go check that out. I don't know why I tongue clicked. Favorite movie adaptation, favorite book. I can't read. This is a channel about reading. Favorite book to movie adaptation for the year so far. I haven't really watched any book to movie adaptation, so the only thing close to how I can answer this question is I actually started watching Avatar: The Last Airbender earlier this year, and I absolutely loved it. It was amazing. And then I watched Legend of Korra, and I loved it even more. Unpopular opinion, but I thought Korra was the better show. Either way, I started getting into the comics. And so I picked up The Promise, which is the first omnibus in the Avatar series. And it's basically a continuation of the show. It takes place after the events of the show. And we're following some really interesting political intrigue that Aang and his friends have to face in the wake of like the final battle or whatever. And it's so good. Listen, the child in me that missed out on this show is living right now. So I'm very much enjoying the comics. I've been reading the Korra comics as well. And yeah, it's great. It's really great. The most beautiful book that I acquired this year is one that I really did not need to spend the money on because I could have found an illegal PDF of this online just as easily. But I decided when I saw it in the bookstore that it's about time that I read this book anyway. I might as well just buy an unnecessarily expensive, beautiful copy to motivate me into reading it. And that was The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. This was a really good book. Like, it's good. Like, it's written well. All of that kind of stuff. I see why people like it. Let's talk about the actual physical book itself. This is a Penguin cloth-bound copy. Isn't it gorgeous? Like, it has all the little foiled pages, and the text is printed in blue, which was really cute. Also, I have a full review of this on my Bookstagram as well, go check that out. Support the Bookstagram. Thank you very much. My bookish highlight of the year so far has definitely been trying to read all of the books off of the Women's Prize shortlist. I did not get around to Sorrow and Bliss, but I did get around to reading 5 of the, oh god, they're very heavy. 5 of the other books. Well, I'm still reading Ruth Ozeki's book, which ended up winning, but I'm loving it so far. I also recently just finished her memoir, which I really enjoyed. I'm so happy that The Bread the Devil Need ended up making the shortlist because this is a Trinidadian author. I loved this book so much. The Sentence was also really great and such a phenomenal read. Great Circle was phenomenal as well. And I love The Island of Missing Trees by Elif Shafak. I actually love Elif Shafak as a person. She's such a nice, but like she is so like engaging with her readers on Instagram. She liked my review of her book. She even reposted it on her page. She always reposts reviews of her books on her page, which I really appreciate, that she's very like interconnected with her readers, especially for an author who's so famous and so prolific. And if you're interested, I don't know if I plugged my Bookstagram as yet, but I did a double like review / reflection on both of these books. I also did a full review of this book as well as a full review of this book as aforementioned. I do plan on doing a full proper review of this one as well as Black Cake soon, but with this book I want to go to a very specific location in order to take the picture, so stay tuned on my Bookstagram. Don't know when I'll go to that specific location, but I want to go sometime within the coming months. It requires hiking. It requires physical effort to get there. The final question is about my next biggest reading priority, and honestly, I did the Women's Prize. I want to move on to the Booker Prize. I want to try to read as many books off the long list as possible, and I definitely want to read all of the books off the short list, but not even the long list has been announced as yet. So right now, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to read books that could potentially end up qualifying for the long list. So a couple of the books that I read so far could qualify. So like The Sentence by Louise Erdrich could qualify. Sea of Tranquility might be able to qualify, but it's speculative, so I highly doubt. Black Cake even could be eligible for the award, but I'm not sure. I also read Cold Enough for Snow by Jessica Oh. I really enjoy this book as well. It's a short book that has been getting quite a lot of hype. As for the books that I have not read as yet, but that I still have copies of right now, I would love to see When We Were Birds on there. Again, I don't know if this one will make it. Probably not. It's by Ayana Lloyd-Banwo, who is a local author, and this book takes place in Trinidad, and I've heard really good things. This is another one that has been taking over Caribbean Bookstagram. French Braid by Anne Tyler. I've never read anything by Anne Tyler, but she's a very prolific author as well, so I do look forward to giving this a try, and it could potentially be on the long list, but again, I don't know, I haven't heard much people predict that one being there. I also have Hanya Yanagihara's To Paradise. I have not read A Little Life, but I do want to start reading this because, again, this could potentially be on the long list. On audio, I have Young Mungo, which I honestly is really just because of the cover. I want to read this. And I also have coming in the mail The Colony by Audrey McGee, which I've heard really good things about, and I would like to see. I definitely think this one is going to be on the long list for sure. Everybody's like, if it's one book, it's The Colony. Also, I do want to read, I had to reach up to get it. I want to read Animal Farm by George Orwell soon, because Violet Bulawayo has a new book out called Glory, which is supposed to be a retelling of Animal Farm in Zimbabwe based off of the 2017 coup in Zimbabwe, and I find that to be really interesting, but I haven't read Animal Farm yet, so I need to read Animal Farm before I go ahead and read this new book. And again, I've heard people saying that it could potentially make the long list, so I don't know, we'll see. Again, I'm not sure, but that is my next reading priority, to read as many books that could be eligible. But whatever is on the long list, I want to read as much as I want to, and I want to definitely read the entire short list, so that's my next little project. That's everything that I had to talk about for the Media Book Freakout tag and the Media Check-in tag. Yes, I butchered both of these tags, and I selected which questions I wanted to answer and completely ignored the ones that I didn't want to answer, because listen, I don't have fictional crushes, okay? Some of these books made me cry, some made me happy. I don't know which one to pick for that. My ultimate OTP would be me and mental stability. But that's it, everybody. I would love to know if you all have read any of these books, if you have any thoughts on them. That being said, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a lovely day, and until next time, inshallah, keep reading.